Hi there, this is Yuka from Yuka Purpose and Identity Beyond Career, and a lot of the calls I receive from clients are when they are at crossroads trying to make a decision and they want my guidance on which decision is best for them. And I believe that there is no one right way to make a decision, and that decision making process is very unique to each individual. But I wanted to share an unconventional way that you could make an aligned decision today in this video. Often when we make decisions, we use our mind and use logic and reasoning to come to a conclusion. And you might like to write out pros and cons list or analyze the risks that are involved. And when we're doing that, we're using the left side of the brain, which is all about logics. And this might work for engineering problems or structural problems or simple problems in life. But when it comes to big life decisions, it gets tricky because that's when our emotions and desires come into play. And the other thing about trying to make decisions only using our mind is that the mind can easily be talked into and out of things. So you might logically know that you need to exercise every day in order to lose weight. But it's quite easy, and it often happens, that people come up with excuses and talk the mind out of said exercise routines, right? I'm sure you've experienced these scenarios before. So you can really convince your mind to do one thing or the other, and usually depending on what's really holding you back, like is it fear or doubt or lack of confidence that you have. And this is why often we find it hard to make decisions. So what's an alternative? Let's look at the other side of the brain, the right side, the more intuitive, emotional, more creative side of the brain. It has a more feminine energy to it, right? We may think that these are not good, reliable sources to make decisions, which makes sense because if you look at our educational system, it's basically emphasizing the power of logic and reasoning over anything else, right? Like all the core subjects are heavily relying on your left side of the brain, the logical, the reasonings. Like even if it's literature, we have to reason out why the character might have done X, Y, Z, or felt in a certain way, or why the writer wrote it in a specific way. And then if you look at all the elective subjects, those are more based on the right side of the brain, which is about creativity, like arts, creativity, intuition, emotion, like music, right? So it makes sense that we become apprehensive to make decision upon like an intuition or your emotion. But intuition isn't a bad thing. Intuition isn't a less credible source of decision making either. It's quite the contrary. You've probably experienced a situation where you just knew something to be right. You don't know how you know it, why you know it, where you got that information from it, but you can just feel it, sense it, maybe even hear it, right, to be right. And when you acted upon it, you were like, I knew that would be it. Or when you didn't act on it, then you might have regretted it because the outcome was different, and you might have thought, well, I knew I should have done the other thing. I should have chosen the other option, right? So that is a moment in your life where intuition was giving you an information. Or perhaps if you reflect, you might notice a situation where you had to make a decision and you internally knew which decision you wanted to make, but because you couldn't justify it out loud, because it didn't make sense logically, or it wasn't the most reasonable option, your brain said, what the hell? This doesn't make sense. I can't justify it, so I can't choose this. And you didn't. And perhaps you regretted not taking that decision that you knew from within, right? So how I understand intuition is the way your inner wisdom or higher source, whether that is the universe, God, angels, whatever you like to name that power, is the way that it is communicating with you to send a signal that allows you to know what is most aligned to you. And if you still don't think intuition is so reliable and you have doubts around it, I wanted to share that Sarah Blakely, she is the first female self-made billionaire. When she started on her entrepreneurship journey, no one believed in her. But as she became successful, other CEO men approached her individually and asked her privately what was her secret. And what did she share? She shared that it was in her allowing and following her feminine energy, which is intuition. So that's just how powerful intuition can be, and I want to encourage you to have an open mind and try to change your perspective a little bit and experiment how intuition can even help you in your life today. And if you're in the Identity Beyond Career program, last week Christy shared a simple exercise that you can do in order for you to connect with your intuition, in order for you to understand how intuition shows up in your life. And today I wanted to share with you another way that you can tap into your intuition and connect to that energy, because when you're disconnected, you don't know how it shows up in your life. You don't even know what it looks like and feels like for you. It's quite difficult to get that connection and experiment with it. So this is another way that you can tap into your intuition and kind of know how that shows up in your specific energetic makeup. And this is drawing from the knowledge of human design. So if you've never come across human design before, it is a very powerful and unique tool that combines ancient science and modern science together, and it shows your energetic blueprint based on your birth data. And these imprints, these energetic imprints, gives you a clue on how you're energetically wired, both physically and mentally. And one of the things that you can find out from your chart is the best way for you to make aligned decisions. And in the human design world, they call this your authority. And you can find out what your authority is by looking up your chart for free, and I'll put the link below. So there are 7 authorities which are one-off, and when you pull up your chart, it will state clearly what that is for you. So you just look under authority and you'll find it. And those 7 authorities are emotional, sacral, splenic, ego, self-projected, then you've got environmental, or sometimes it's called mental authority, and the last one is lunar, or sometimes that's noted down as non-authority, like you've got no authority. But I'll be using the term lunar, so those are interchangeable, so that you know. And each of these 7 authorities, they experience intuition in a very specific way. So I'll be going through them, giving you an overview of how that looks like for each authority now. So for emotional authority, you are not really here to make decision out of your mind. Actually, none of the authorities, because it's intuition, we're trying to use the right side of our brain, right? None of these authorities are going to encourage you to make decisions upon your logics or reasons. But so for emotional authority, you are to tune in to your emotions. But it's also a little tricky, because as you have different emotions throughout the day or throughout over a couple of days to make that decision, you're going to be going through different emotional states. And when you are excited and everything's going great, at that point when you're trying to make a decision, everything will look great. Everything will be a yes. And that's what you want to avoid, because you're going to be wearing like everything is good sunglasses, and everything will be shaded with goodness. And if you're in the low point of your emotional cycle, everything will look terrible. Even if it's going to be the best decision for you, it will look like a terrible no. And when I say best decision, I also want to put a disclaimer here that just because it's the most aligned and best decision for you in that moment, it doesn't mean that it is going to work out. It is going to be 100% successful outcome, right? Because nothing in life is 100% guaranteed, and also you sometimes learn more when you fail or something doesn't go right, and that's the lesson that you have to learn in this life. So I won't guarantee the result of your decision that is always going to be a good one, but when you do follow your authority, whatever authority that is, it turns out to be the best thing for you. Whether that result was good or bad, you'll be able to see it in a good light. So as an emotional authority, you want to make sure that you don't make big decisions in these emotionally high states or emotionally low states in particular. You want to go through all your emotions and check with yourself every time, how do I feel? Not how do I think it is, but how do I feel it to be, right? Does this decision feel good to me right now? And check at different points of your emotional cycle how it is, and then you come to a conclusion when you're in a neutral state. So for example, you might get an offer for a new job and it might sound really exciting and you might feel like, yes, this is the one, because you're excited that you even got approached for an offer, right? But you want to wait that emotional state and just check in a couple of hours later. How do I feel now? Am I as excited as I was before? Or maybe even more excited? Or am I not feeling like it anymore? Does it not feel that good anymore? Right? So you want to check over a period of perhaps 24 hours how you're feeling periodically. And then when you've gone through a whole load of emotions about the decision, because you might feel excited at the beginning, but then fear or doubt or lack of self-confidence might tap in, and you might feel like, oh no, I can't accept this offer because what if things go wrong? What if I can't perform at what they're expecting, at the level that they're expecting? Or what if it doesn't work out in other areas of my life? What if? All these fear, all these negative emotion might take over, and then you're at the bottom of your emotional cycle and you're thinking everything's a no. Better that I back out of this, better I say no, better I say just thank you and not act upon it, right? So after you go through all these emotions, then you want to check with yourself, how am I feeling now? Does this feel like a good decision for me? Okay, and that's emotional authority, tapping into how you're feeling. And one note is, and I can go on and I can share so much more detail of emotional authority because I am also one, but just for the sake of introducing this authority and how that shows up for you, I wanted to just add one more thing, that for emotional authorities, they're unlikely to ever feel 100% sure of one decision. So don't expect to have that 100% clarity. Actually 60-70% even is good enough, they say. So experiment with and track your emotions and see how that goes for you. Next authority is sacral authority, and this is a very in your body kind of signals that you get from your sacral, the gut area. So you are to tune into your body and notice how that energy responds. The gut can only communicate with you in binary form, so yes or no. So you need to ask yourself or get someone to ask you questions where you can answer yes or no. Not from your mind, but from your body, from the energy you get from your gut area. Okay? So it's like, get them to ask questions like, rather than what do you want for dinner, where the answer can be millions of different varieties, get yourself or someone else to ask you, would you like pasta for dinner? Then you can answer yes or no, right? This is a very simple example, but for sacral authorities, you get an intuitive gut response on the spot, spontaneously, as you ask these questions to yourself. So you can use this response in big life decisions as well as small or seemingly unimportant decisions in life. So I'll encourage you to start small with the smaller questions in life, like what do you want to eat for dinner tonight? And then see what their response is and play and experiment with that. When your gut is saying yes, you should feel an expanding energy, or sometimes even like a voice that's coming out from really your gut. Not that you are trying to make the sound, but it's just coming from within, like a right? And when it's a no, then there is no energy, or the energy feels like it's depleting, it's shrinking, it's coming down like, no, I don't want to do that. So that's the signals you should watch out for, and that's the way your inner knowledge, your intuition can come through. The next authority is the splenic authority, and you are here to know intuitively. So I'm saying intuition for all the other authorities, but strictly speaking, in human design terminologies, the word intuition, the term intuition, is reserved for splenic authorities because it's like a splenic hit. It's an intuitive hit. It's a split in the moment signal that they get. So it's like, oh, I know, or oh no, that's bad, or you hear or you see signs that are trying to communicate with you, specifically when something is dangerous or not right for you. So if you have a splenic authority, usually the baseline is any decision is good for you, except for when you get a splenic hit that gives you no, that's dangerous. And there's a lot more to this, but for the sake of this video, I'm going to keep it short and add that for splenic authority, it's really important to have your nervous system calm and relaxed. So because at a heightened state, when your nervous system is heightened, everything seems like dangerous and something that you want to avoid. So trying to get your nervous system to be as calm as possible, and you could do that in a lot of different ways, like breathing, meditation, avoiding certain stimulants, external stimulants like caffeine or hard drugs or even alcohol that could stimulate your nervous system. Avoid all of that in order to tune in and settle your nervous system down so that when you actually do get the intuitive hit, then it's more obvious for you. Then the next authority is ego authority or heart authority. And you really know what you want to go after. You have a desire and also the capability to just go after what your heart really desires. So when you have a decision come up, really tune in and ask yourself, does this decision align with what I really desire, what I'm really going for? If it's a no, and even though it logically makes sense, it should be a no. Experiment with how that works. If it's a yes and logically doesn't make sense, just go with it anyway. That's my encouragement for you with the ego authorities. And for some people with ego authority, especially if, now I'm getting into the details, but your energy type is a manifester, when you speak out what that decision is and how that is going to help you with your desires, how that is aligned with your desires, then you get more clarity on whether that decision is really aligned to you or not. Next authority is the self-projected authority, and you are here to make decisions that are aligned with your sense of identity and who you are. So for you, it's really helpful to talk out your decisions with someone else, not to get their opinions or feedback on your decision, but really just to have a safe place to express yourself and hear yourself expressing yourself. Then you get to know, that's really not me, or yeah, that is me, and that is what I want to do. That's the way your intuition come out for you, that you will be projecting as you express yourself. You get to hear how that sounds and whether that is really aligned to you and who you want to be or not. The next authority is the environmental authority, or also known as the mental authority. So if you have this authority, you're here to make decisions based on how you feel in an environment, because there are inputs from the environment that is going to help you in your decision-making process. Similar to self-projected authorities, it can also help you to talk out your decisions with others, not to get their perspective or opinions or advice, but for you to put out your idea into the environment and see how that feels for you. And if you have this authority, it's really important for you to go and visit places, the environment you'll be, that is connected to your decisions. For example, if you've been offered a new job in a new country, it might be a really wise idea for you to go and visit that country, or specifically that office, and see how that environment feels for you. You might have noticed that you're quite sensitive to your environment in your life, and you might even have received comments like you're so picky or you're so particular. But the environment is very important for you, and it's one way that you're receiving signals from your inner wisdom and from higher source. So don't feel ashamed, but use it to your advantage and allow it to help you make the most aligned decisions for you. The last authority is the lunar authority, or the non-authority, and you are here to take your time, really. Ideally 28 days is a whole lunar cycle. That's why it's called the lunar authority, in order to feel and check with yourself how the decision might impact you. And the reason is because out of all the other types, you are most influenced by the lunar transits, and you experience a specific energy every day that can be very different from day to day, which may make you feel different about a decision depending on the day. So you really want to get to know yourself and get to know your baseline of how you feel about a decision, and also track how that lunar transit affects you and how you feel in those situations, and then make a sound decision from collecting all the data points from those days. So as much as it allows, take time to make decisions. Don't rush into decisions, and inform those around you that that is your process, you're experimenting with it, so that they give you that space and they understand where you're coming from, that you're not just trying to make the process even more difficult if it is involving other people, but you just really need to get to know and feel out how you feel in each different day. So that's the lunar authority for you. And this might have been a lot of new content, a lot of new knowledge, but where I would suggest you to start is just looking at your authority. I've gone through all the 7 authorities, and it was probably overwhelming for you, but just start with what authority do you have and what does that mean for you. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. And if you want further guidance, I also offer human design readings that is specifically about your chart. So if you're interested in that, I'll put a link below as well. And for anything else, feel free to get in touch with me, and I'll be very happy to share my knowledge of human design with you and help you on your journey to alignment and making the decision-making process as easy and most aligned for you. So let me know in the comments if this was helpful, and I'll see you next time. Bye.